What if Darth Malgus trained Anakin Skywalker? Buried beneath the ash and silence of a world shattered by the fall of the Old Republic and the death of the Sith Empire, Darth Malgus does not die. He is entombed, frozen in a crystalline shell of his own residual Force energy, a war machine with no war left to fight, waiting in stasis for centuries while empires rise and crumble above him. Then, on Tatooine, a slave woman gives birth to a child with no father. The galaxy's strongest ripple in the Force in 1,000 generations rolls outward across the stars, and deep in the ruins, ice cracks. So let's get this story started. Centuries before the Republic ever feared the name Vader, another Sith ruled by the sword alone. He did not seek a throne. He did not seek an empire. He sought only war. And when the war ended without him, the galaxy buried him and forgot. The ice fractures, a red eye opens beneath rusted armor and old respirator plating. Malgus rises. He doesn't know how long he's been entombed, only that the Force itself screamed an instant ago, somewhere far away, with the birth of something it had never produced before, a being conceived by the Force itself. He doesn't yet know the name, he only knows the pull, and Malgus has never, in his life, ignored a calling that strong. He builds himself a ship from the bones of his own dead empire and sets a course outward. Malgus arrives on Tatooine not as a savior, but as a predator. He has no interest in subtlety, no patience for Jedi-style diplomacy. He finds the boy, Anakin, age 2, through the Force, the same way a magnet finds true north. Malgus does not negotiate with Watto. He does not bargain. He simply kills anyone who stands between him and the child, takes Anakin, and he erases Shmi's memory of ever having a son, using the same techniques the Sith Empire used to erase prisoners' identities. Anakin is gone from Tatooine before the Republic, or the Jedi, ever since the disturbance that should have alerted them. The boy who was supposed to be found by Qui-Gon Jinn is never found at all. And the training begins. Where the Jedi would have taught Anakin to suppress fear, attachment, and anger, Malgus teaches the opposite, but not in the chaotic, undisciplined way most evil Sith master tropes go. Malgus's Sith Empire valued strength through conquest, not petty cruelty. His training is brutal, but purposeful. No comfort, no attachment. Anakin is raised in war, not coddled, not loved, not given anything he doesn't earn through power. Malgus deliberately isolates him from any caretaker who shows him warmth, removing them the moment Anakin begins to bond. Power as the only truth. Malgus's core lesson repeated across years. The weak cling to people, to ideals, to gods. The strong cling to nothing, because nothing can be taken from a man who needs nothing. Combat over patience. Unlike Sidious's slow seduction, Malgus trains Anakin in open, brutal saber combat from the time he can walk, sparring against droids, beasts, and eventually, living captives. No rule of two. Malgus rejects the Sith tradition of one master, one apprentice. He intends to rebuild an army, not a hidden conspiracy. So Anakin isn't kept secret. He's raised as the heir to a war machine. By the age of 5, Anakin could already beat combat droids twice his size, not through technique, but through instinct. When a droid cheated mid-duel, breaking its own programming to land a hit, Anakin didn't report it. He destroyed it, utterly, far past the point necessary to win. Malgus didn't scold him for it. He smiled. At 9, Anakin was ordered to execute a wounded prisoner, begging for his life. He hesitated. For the first time, and the last, something in him resisted. Malgus didn't strike him, didn't yell. He simply turned and walked away. And for 7 days said nothing to the boy at all. The silence taught Anakin more than the violence ever could. He never hesitated again. There was no meditation chamber, no kyber crystal calling out to him the way Jedi legend says it should. Anakin built his blade the way Malgus had taught him to build everything, by taking it, tearing it from the wreckage of the old Sith Empire and bending it to his will. The blade that ignited was a deep, violent red. By 16, he had surpassed every acolyte Malgus had ever recruited. He no longer asked why. He no longer flinched. There was no guilt waiting to resurface, no buried love for a mother he couldn't save, no secret marriage, no counsel that could have saved him from himself. Because in this story, he was never given any of those things to lose in the first place. He was simply what Malgus had built him to be, a being who needed nothing and craved only the next victory. A weapon like that doesn't stay hidden for long. Across the galaxy, another war was already brewing, a separatist movement led by a fallen Jedi named Count Dooku, secretly being puppeteered by a Sith Lord hiding in plain sight on Coruscant. But Dooku had never sensed power like the one approaching his fleet now. Malgus didn't ask Dooku to join him. He didn't need to. One demonstration of what Anakin, now a young man, now a finished weapon, could do to a squadron of droids without lifting no more than a hand was enough. Dooku, ever the pragmatist, recognized power when it stood in front of him. He bent the knee, not out of loyalty, out of survival. What followed wasn't the quiet shadow war the galaxy remembers. There was no hidden Sith master orchestrating both sides from behind a curtain, content to let Jedi and separatists bleed each other slowly while he waited for his moment. This time, the mask came off immediately. This was conquest, total, open, relentless. And at the front of every battle was Anakin. One by one, the Jedi who marched against this new threat fell, not to politics, not to a secret order broadcast across the galaxy, but to a blade and a boy the Jedi Council had never even heard of. They had no name for him in their archives, no prophecy that mentioned him, no warning at all. It was Yoda who finally recognized the signature buried beneath Anakin's power, a presence the Jedi Order hadn't felt in over 1,000 years. And now, the Republic wasn't fighting a hidden conspiracy. It was fighting a war it had already lost the moment a desert child vanished, 9 years before anyone ever thought to look for him. Somewhere on Coruscant, in a private office overlooking a galaxy he thought he alone controlled, a hooded figure watched the reports come in. Sidious had spent decades building a plan that depended on patience, on secrecy, on nobody, not the Jedi, not the Senate, not even his own apprentice, ever seeing the whole board. That plan had just become obsolete. Because somewhere out there, a Sith empire he didn't build, didn't command, and didn't see coming, had just found the one apprentice he always believed belonged to him. Palpatine, watching all of this from the shadows, realizes his own slow-burn plan has been rendered obsolete by Malgus's brute force conquest, and instead prioritized to eliminating Malgus and stealing Anakin out from under him, setting up a three-way power struggle. If you want a part 2 of this video, then like and subscribe.